All right, everybody, we're back with another episode of Nick Wholesales Houses. I'm so excited to hit you guys with this one. Jack Carpenter's on the pod, finally. Everybody and their mother asked me, when's Jack coming on? Today's the day. I'm so happy. Been begging for this for years. You don't need me to introduce Jack unless you live under a rock, because no one's buying more houses than him right now, and no one pays like Jack. I promise you that. Before we get into the pod, you know the drill. It's brought to you by Renovo Financial. So if you want a hard money loan, if you are a landlord, you want to do some cash out refis, hit me up and I'll link you with Jeremy from Renovo. They're the best. Everyone who's making real big boy money, guess who they use? They use Renovo. There's a reason why. I mean it. A lot of these companies, they loan to own. They want you to mess the money up. I promise you, who doesn't? Jeremy does not want you to mess the money up. They don't want to take the house from you. And it's very rare, very rare. Also, I teamed up with Buy Like Builders because I know everyone always complains to me how expensive their rehab costs are. I hear it every deal I send out. Oh, Nicky, my costs are going to be so expensive. I needed a way to fix it. So I teamed up with Buy Like Builders, and whatever you're paying for your supplies, I know you're price sensitive, we'll beat them. I know we'll beat them. Hit me up. Let's get it going. Let's get into the pod.
I've gotten, a lot of different lending, different things, like just even real estate related, that learn just right off of TikTok that, you're just not going to get on the other social media.
Oh my God, 100%.
Yeah.
The algorithm is just so good, and they're smart. They know what they're doing.
Yeah.
I'll really be caught up.
Yeah.
For a good or bad thing. So I try to keep it good.
Yeah. No, if you don't, you just end up being my set's either a fantasy football or real estate or something along those lines. But, yeah.
Mine's either real estate stuff or jiu-jitsu stuff or parent stuff.
Yeah. How's your jiu-jitsu going?
Bro, good. I do it every day. I love it. It's my...
Yeah, we never talked about, are you high up, or I know you do it all the time.
I'm super good.
Yeah, you're super good.
No, I'm really good.
Okay. So don't pick a fight with you. So
I'm walking away anyway. I'm a very good black belt.
Okay. Yeah, that you have your family walks every morning.
Bro, we getting that.
Yeah, dude. Ever with the... Let me know when we're ready. Are we good or?
Yeah, we're rolling.
Okay. Okay. Good. Awesome.
Yeah, I do a little family walk. I do the same thing every day, bro. I wake up, I do the family walk, do jiu-jitsu, and then I work.
Yeah, all my guys think you're a legend. They're like, we're at the event. We're like, yeah, we want to meet Nick. I'm like, yeah, dude, Nick's just like a regular guy, and everyone's always like, oh, I got to meet Nick, please. Immediately he's always like, oh yeah, you got to come out in a robe, and I'm like, I'm not gonna do all that. No one wants to see that, but
bro, if we did this in a robe, it would break the internet.
Yeah, it definitely would. Definitely.
That would be amazing. Yeah, I love the robe. It's not even a gimmick. I just wear a robe all afternoon while I work.
No. If somebody doesn't know who you are, they'll be like, oh yeah, this is just a gimmick. Yeah. And that is I'm just like, no, that's just Nick.
Yeah. If you ask the ladies that run the grocery store, they see me I go there in the morning at the robe. If you ask my neighbors, they've seen me. They don't.
Just out on the road.
Bro, I don't care.
We got to get. Do you have the branded robes yet?
Yeah, Renovo gave me some robes.
Okay.
They gave me some robes. I've shot some stuff in there.
I should have wore the Renovo shoes that they had. They were nice. Everyone's like, "Oh, let me get a pair."
Yeah, what the hell? I would have went to that event. I would have.
I know. You were like, "What the hell?"
I was jealous. Dude, that was cool.
Jerry said it was only for borrowers. Yeah, it was
valid.
You got to buy more real estate.
Yeah.
And
I like to wholesale more real estate right now.
Yeah, no. I mean, how long you? I think I know how, based on watching your podcast, you're doing it. How long? When did we do our first deal? It was. Like 3 years?
Bro, a long time ago, you saw a deal of mine, and it was a piece of shit. It was a really beater, but it was some kind of like CMX conversion or something in North Philly. You show up. I've never met you before.
That's right.
Because you show up in a G-Wagon in the hood, and I immediately was like, who is this from?
That was the first. I forgot. That was the first time we met. Yeah. That was because I hadn't been doing the Philly market long, because my business model has always been, I've been doing it for 11 years, and I've always just focused on flips, either myself or selling to. I have a core of like 6 or 7, 8, depending on when, guys that buy from me. And my business model has always been, I bring the deal, and then then somebody on my team gets the listing. So normally, anytime I get a deal that I want to move out, I've never really, dispoing it out, posting it anywhere. It either has to be somebody I know, and normally that means I have to sell for a little less, but then I always get the listing on the back end. It's another stream of, consistent income, and then I always know my guys, I don't really have to dispo it out. If I send it to one person, maybe they say no, but the second person, I know it's going to fit their criteria. So I never really did Philly because Philly's a little bit harder to flip in. The market is,
bro.
Even back in when was that, 2020, 2021, when it was really hot, even then the comps are just so far, all over the place, where if you don't know what you're doing and know the kind of quality, it's crazy. In those cities, if you do a flip in Philadelphia for $350,000 and you do a flip in the county for $700,000, the house that's $350,000 in Philly needs to have higher finishes.
Yes.
And
it's so insane. You're so right.
So if you're doing a $350,000 house and you don't know that specific market, you go in there and thinking, okay, I'm going to do what I do, in Newcastle or, in Chichester.
You're going to get smoked.
And you end up getting, not only just smoked, it just, you might get that same number, but it might take you 7 months. And so, when I was getting into the Philadelphia market, in the Philly itself, it was like I didn't get in too fast because my whole business model was always flips and, just doing that either for myself or just selling to other people. And so we did a couple over the years, but then, I've switched my business a good bit to, more focus on the rental properties. And that's why before I came on, I added up how many we've done. We've done 24 since January. So last year we've closed. So.
Yeah, we've been cooking together. We have.
I'm the number one buyer, right?
100%. Yeah. Jack buys. Listen, Jack pays, man. Jack's a real deal.
Yeah. Well, we've done a lot of deals where before I was when we're doing flips, and I really feel like over the last 2 years I've really rounded my buy box that I really can take on anything. Versus when I was just doing flips, I lost a lot of deals that were good deals, especially because I'm in my average buy is in the $100,000 to $150,000. How many different deals did I pass to them because they're tenant occupied, or and deals like that where I would always buy squatter occupied, but
what a beast.
But because my background in sheriff sales, but I would treat every tenant that I would be buying. It's like, if I'm not going to rent the property and I'm buying it, it could have a tenant that's been in there for 12 years paying good money.
Yeah.
If I want to get rid of them, they've been in there for 12 years. It's not easy to the best tenants are not just easy to be like, get the hell out. It doesn't work like that.
Yeah, they're paying so much less than what the real rate is.
So even the best person, it's going to take them 3 months to get out. And if I'm flipping the property and I know that, I have to buy it for less. So, we really started doing a lot when I, transitioned into be more well-rounded in my business. And, one of the best deals you gave me was, I bought over in Strawberry Mansion last year. I bought it squatter occupied on Hamburger.
Yes, I remember that one. Okay.
Yeah, because it sold on the MLS for $85,000 in 2000, literally in early 2024, and then you gave it to me for $37,000. We went over there, and it was right. It was actually it was a full rental grade. In 2024, I never looked at it. You just said it was a squatter. You didn't even know what the squatter. The squatter is such a broad. Squatter doesn't just mean
that could mean anything.
Anything. Well, we found out that they were using the property as it was just the it's one of those Strawberry Mansion streets where every single house is occupied. You're never going to find a vacancy.
Yeah.
Because the moment the property turns vacant, somebody's squatted.
Right immediately. Yeah.
Yeah. So when we pull up one day, I go out there. It's like a Saturday, and I had a whole list. I'm like, going around to all my squatter properties, and I think I have to be a real asshole, And I pull up and we start knocking on, we just literally we go to knock on the door. We just walk in, and they were just using this as like their drug house. Yeah. They're like, and it was a community house. I mean, they had this place, living room, TV. This was like the community, like it was the nicest house in the block, and they were using it as just community house. Yeah. So we pull up, and the guy that's in there, there's probably like 4 people in the house, we're just like, we don't know what's going on. And I tell him like, oh yeah, I'm with someone else, and I'm like, yeah, we're the new owners. And he's like, oh, don't worry, we're gonna clear it out. The whole street starts pulling up and starts taking their stuff.
Oh, get out!
Yeah, they're like, oh, let me get my TV. They literally just cleared.
I should have done that, and then
they just literally cleared out. The one guy has a plate of whatever the fuck he has, and he's like, "Oh, you want a bump?" I'm like, "Bro, like what?" No. I'm like, "What the hell is going on here?" And so we cleared it out. I mean, they stole all the appliances. I was like, "Yeah," like literally, they're like, "Oh no, these are our appliances." They took them all out with them, but the place was pretty mint. I only had to put like $5,000 back into it. Because it was fully redone. It was some Israeli dude that you got it from. He bought it as a rental, and I guess you said he was out of the country, so he probably just bought it.
Somebody else said it to me. I wasn't even direct to seller on it.
Okay. Yep. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, you got it for 30, and I paid like 38, I saw there was another fee on there, but I guess the guy was out of the country, so it was just sitting there vacant. And they went in there, and they were just squatting on the place, but they obviously didn't know what they could be doing. No. So the moment they showed up, they bounced out. We boarded the place.
They got out that easy?
Yeah, we didn't even have to do anything. They just said, I just said, we're the new owners. We pull up, and they literally just they're carrying down the couch down the street, carrying down the television down the street. I put $5,000 into it, rented it for $1,250 a month, and but we've had deals that go the other way that you've sold me that, the tenant's paying, and then next thing you know, like, no, they're not paying. And
oh yeah, which way?
On Pratt Street.
Oh,
I'm still, and the lady has a lawyer, and she knows the system.
I'm sorry.
Oh, dude, that's part of the business,
It still makes me feel terrible, though. I don't want anyone to get stuck on it.
Well, I mean, no, but it's not like you would know. I'm taking you have to take there's still a risk buying tenant occupied, especially in Philadelphia. So, in other areas, in other areas, it's not as big of a risk. It's not as hard to get them out. People are paying.
In Hassel County, you can get them out.
Yeah, people are paying good money for tenant occupied because they're just like, oh, whatever. It's not that long. You can seriously get a discount in Philadelphia just for being tenant occupied. It doesn't even have to be squatter occupied. You know how much harder it is to move a lot of these deals that you can get a good value on just simply because it's tenant occupied and people don't want to deal with it.
Yeah, people run away.
Yeah. So I saw your post and I was like, oh, that's why we do a lot of deals because you can put something out and also I'll buy anything.
Yeah.
Like that's
as long as the numbers make anything.
Yeah, no, exactly. I'll buy anything. Like there's very few deals that I can't fit into my buy box.
Yeah.
Areas, I'll buy in any area. I'm in 4 states. So that gives me an advantage, I feel like, to a lot of other people. Like if you get a deal in Delaware, you might not have that many people in Delaware. I'm going to be your first phone call. Any of my Delaware guys go and have a deal in Philadelphia, I'm on top of their list.
Yeah.
Anybody that's in Delaware, they have, they have 20 buyers. I'm not going to always be their best buyer.
Yeah.
But because I'm in 4 different states, if they have a deal in an area that they don't have anybody, they might be calling 2 people. They don't want to blast out a deal in Southwest Philly. They live an hour and a half away. They don't want to go up there. They don't want to go up there and show the place. And then those are going to be the best deals that you get from wholesalers. But that only comes because of the relationship that
Yes.
that you have. So,
Oh, 100% because of the relationship.
yeah.
And also, bro, the fact that you buy a tenant occupied, like everyone wants to go, Nikki, let me put you on my, let me get on your buyers list, or how do I get deals, blah, blah, blah. And they want to connect with me. It's all right, well, will you buy a tenant occupied? Yes or no? If you will buy a tenant occupied, you're never going to be my first person.
Yeah.
What are you talking about?
Yeah.
Or I'll buy everything, but it has to be completely perfect scenario. Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah, dude, you're meaningless because everyone will buy that. That's it.
Yeah.
How do you even compete with anybody?
Yeah.
So the buying tenant occupied makes you so competitive. And also, bro, why I hate when people need to go see the property. It's not like I'm just some random Joe Schmo with no name. If I say, yo, I took this video walkthrough, this is mine. What are you going to? That's just a weird rehab thing that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
That's something super reasonable. What are you going to see that you didn't?
Well, I used to be like that, where I used to be. I mean, even 5 years ago, I would still be the one. I do my, mainly where I get my deals is wholesale and sheriff sale.
Yeah,
that's those are pretty much how I get most of the the properties I get. And I mean, even 3, 4, 5 years ago, I would still be the one driving around looking at all the places. So I was like, oh yeah, middle of the night.
Oh my God.
Let me look at, I got to look at 60 houses by 10 a.m. tomorrow, and I would do it all myself because I would still have that mindset of being like, okay, I have to go out there and do that. And in reality, it's no, I just need to organize my team to not only my team to be like, okay, if I need you to go out there, I can send anybody out there with this set of, how do you set up your Google Drive? What do you need to look for? But it's the same thing with the wholesalers, especially if you have somebody that's known and has a relationship with, as long as they get you anything, I'll be the first one that you send me something. We had that one deal. I was like, what's up with this basement wall? And you're like, no, we'll do the deal. If you need to get someone out there and the basement's fucked, obviously, then we'll talk on the price. But what can you do, consuming that it's not that big of a deal? And we did the deal, and then I got my guy out there to look at it, and it was only $4,000, nothing major, and we did the deal. But it's also buyers that I always tell people that when you're doing deals, when you're doing more volume, you're going to have more losses, but you also can afford to have more losses. Anybody that's flipping 2 houses, they have to make money, because if they don't, it's time that they lose, and they might not get, they might only have a finite, their contractors said that, if they only can do 6 houses in a year and they have one that loses them $40,000, and they're relying on that to live, something. So they're going to be the first ones that are I have to go out there, I have to do this, and that leads to them getting worse deals. But they're not in a position to take that kind of chance on doing something. So
that's a good point. I didn't think of it. That's a very good point.
Yeah, so I have a lot of different investors that that are in that situation, and we do deals together and things like that, because because they can't do as many, they can also assist me in my time that obviously I'm so busy doing different things. I can bring them on, we can JV deals, and I can bring in my connections, my knowledge, lock down the deals, bring the financing, and they can be the ones going out there being like,
and having
to
the ground.
Yeah, exactly. And really being, anal and on top of the guys. So, but yeah, so different things I've been, thinking about before we came on, and some things that watching your other podcast, and how are you doing with your agent outreach and buying deals from the MLS? How's that been going?
I don't do this much. I recently just started doing it again.
You need to.
Bro, it's so nice just for the relationship, not even for the deal now, but the relationship that I'm building along the way. Because I did it for so long, I have so many agents that send me pocket listings now just because of the work that I put in before. So I'm just trying to do it more for inbound leads in the future. But I still get deals from it. I just started this month and I got one deal from it. And it only takes 30 minutes a day. So it's not like I'm spending a ton of time.
Yeah, I'm sure
you could. Doing it every day.
I'm sure you could just that's really being in 4 different states. It's still one market. I'm in I'm in a 2.5 hour, 3 hour radius. I'll go pretty much I buy anywhere that has Bright. Like I'll go a little bit out of Bright.
Yes,
but,
that's what I'm doing right now.
I've been outside of, when you go outside of Bright, and some of these MLSs, like I've had to get a couple other MLSs in Pennsylvania, and they're just so bad. I'm like, God, I can't figure it out. So, I mean, I feel like if Bright was in 6 states, I'd probably be in 6 states right now. It's just like a comfort thing. But that's why I do the whole state of Maryland, because the whole state is Bright.
Right.
And being able to know what the value is, I mean, that's the biggest thing you can go wrong.
Yes.
If you're buying in a different area, is if you're wrong on the value, and if you have Bright, you can really do it. But each area is so different, where like I couldn't go on in, like if you're just looking for a single family in Newcastle County, you cannot go on to Bright and possibly find, like you'd have to make so many offers to get any. I
got something this month. I assigned it for, the total assignment is 15. I'm getting 10. So
really,
yeah.
How much did you get it off the listing?
It was listed for 125 with no photos. I got it.
Okay.
Got it at 90 and got photos.
Oh yeah, that one on West
on 2nd Street.
Yes.
Someone's paying like 105 for it.
It's a big place. That's But you also got that like the moment it hit the market, and
the moment.
Yeah.
If it's been on the market for more than 30 days, you didn't know if getting the deal out of that, in my experience. But if you get,
I mean, not necessarily. Like, I mean, some of the best deals I've gotten from the MLS, these just agents that they tell their client, they're just like, yes, like, oh yeah, listed head, especially in like, let's just say in a Philadelphia, you can just do some basic math, and you're like, oh, it's worth 120. They listed at 130. They don't get any bites. You come in with 80.
Yeah,
it's probably worth 95, but no one's. It's 25 grand over asking.
And nowadays, people don't want to throw low balls out.
No.
So like, I get most of the deals I get on the MLS, they're just priced too high, and I'm the only person that's offered on them, because I just don't care. I don't care. I'm gonna low ball the hell out of you. I don't care if it's half the listing price.
Yeah.
Like that means nothing to me. I don't even look at the listing price. I just only look at the photos.
Yeah.
And I copy the MLS code, type it in, hit the realtor option.
Yeah.
I don't even look at the asking. I really don't.
Why
would I? It has nothing to do with me.
Yeah, it really doesn't. But I mean, but as like a constant model outside of like a Wilmington, a Philadelphia, a Camden, those areas, you can get some deals from the MLS, but if you're trying to do that in the county and that's like your main business to wholesale, it's going to be a lot harder in my experience.
Yeah.
But in those rural areas that are in the middle of nowhere, or in the city, like you can, I used to make 100 offers a week, 7 years ago, and do all that, and really try to crush it out. It's a lot of work. But especially someone starting out, and you can do it in Philadelphia. I see deals all the time that I don't have time to, that I don't have time to just hustle out to try and get them down 25 grand on the MLS.
But if you've got nothing going on,
then
or you want to just start getting into this, I think it's the best way for anyone to get started.
Yeah, I mean, I think, it's also like I feel like you have to know when you're reaching out, you should probably have a knowledge of how to deal with an agent and how to, I know what to say. I feel like for people starting out, they got to have at least a basic, done a deal or two, like a regular way before, because I feel like if you haven't and you're calling up, you might get a bad rep and not, you might lose a deal if you say the wrong thing. Agents are very finicky about things. If you don't have your paperwork in line, you don't have a good story, but like, what am I doing with the place? But if you have that basic, and I've already done my experience, if you can done a couple deals, and then you make that a business model, there's guys out there that are like, I've bought from wholesalers that have literally gotten literally right off the MLS, and you can do good things, but it's area based.
It's definitely area based.
It's county by county. A lot of things in this business are literally county by county, and there's a lot of different niches. I bought property in 33 counties last year. So across 4 states. So every county has their own, and different areas. You look at the comps. The comps are a lie. If you just look at, I got myself into and lost money because I'm just very much a numbers guy, and you look at it and you think the numbers are just the numbers, and they're just not the numbers. They're not. Each area.
He's so right.
When you get to the next level of, not that I'm great at what, like I'm really good at what I do on finding deals, identifying deals like that, identifying areas that I want to buy in.
Yes.
Not that have everything figured out and, super, great at everything I do, but I think I have a good talent of finding deals and finding areas. But I used to just think like the numbers are the numbers, the comps are the comps, but they're not. You really have to take into fact days on market. And, there's some areas that the property might be worth $350 realistically, and the comps are only going to tell you $325. And so if you're buying off of $325 and everyone else
is buying off of
$350, and not just like overpaying buying off of $350. I'm talking like the comps are $325 and it's going to get $350. There's a lot of areas like that, like South Jersey getting really hot. Anything that's in Newcastle County, in the county, if you're buying off of $325, you're not going to be competitive. But it goes the other way. If you're in Philadelphia, there's like
Philadelphia is the opposite way. It's
literally the opposite. And you can get yourself in. You think you have this great deal, and if you're flipping it and, the comps are $350, but it's like, no, I look at it and
the comps are $320.
Yeah, I know it's $315. Like, I know, and it's kind of hard it's obviously the wholesaler doesn't want to hear that, but the wholesalers, the real ones know. Because they know.
Yes,
because
100%. Because you do the math. We're all doing the same math. And we do the math. You look at the numbers. Okay, cool, boom. And then you put it out and, it looks right, but everyone says it tastes bad, Yeah. Like, for whatever.
Well, yeah, no. Well, and they also, they know based on if you've been doing it for 3 years and you sold a bunch to people and you're like, oh, yeah, it was $350, and they all got $315, and then you go back and look, because the first thing you're going to say is that, no, the market went down. But then you could literally go back and the comps are still $350. The comps were $350, a year ago. They're $350 now, even though I know I just got $315 for the place.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of different nuance with things like that. But yeah.
Philly's crazy. I think when I first started out, I was only in Philly, and now I am trying to be everywhere bright is. So I did marketing all more spread out. I think it's much better. Easier to get good deals too than just being in one area. Yeah,
I like Philly. Getting into it. I'm buying a lot in Philly because the numbers work. They really do. Everyone's a skip. I have a really good property manager. That does all my Philly stuff for the most part, and we haven't had too many problems with rentals. The permit process. There's a lot easier to get. You're not, you can get easy permits. A lot of times you're not even pulling permits on these things. You're on a Southwest and you're going in and you're not adding a floor. You go into Delco and
you can't. You sneeze in there. You better.
We can't even clean up trash on the outside without getting fined. Like, you're getting fined for cleaning up trash without a permit, and then you go in and fight with them, and then they you miss a mail. Like, how much mail the amount of mail that we get in a given week.
I don't even want to know.
It's like a full-time job going through all the mail just that comes in when you're owning all these properties. So then you miss something, and next thing you know, you have a warrant out. And they do that all the time. Like, you have you have a bench warrant for $1,000 fine in Sakane, and it's just like that. That makes your life so much more difficult doing deals in those type of areas.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, it's a pain. The real pain in the ass, but Delco's always been like the most stable market that I've been in for the last.
People love rentals over there. So.
Yeah. Between rentals and flip, they can always sell. It's the most consistent, market that I've been in.
And the price point is a good price point.
Yeah, and in 2017, I was doing a bunch in Delaware, Delco. Yeah. I saw huge value in New Jersey, and that's when I started getting into New Jersey, and I told everyone, I was like, "Yo, you got to come over. We got there's deals. This is before I was really set up to. I wasn't doing as many myself, and I was like, okay, we got to go over. And I was hustling out deals left and right in New Jersey. No one wanted to deal with the CO process, and they have high taxes, so they're like, like Delaware buyers are like, oh, why would I want to go over there?
Yeah.
But then look how much the market shot up.
Bro, it is so hot in Jersey now. Jersey's been hot for a bit now. Yeah. You were early.
I was early, early. But so like that was like my main, like I'd say I did more deals in Jersey for like from like 2018 until like 2023. Like I was doing, that was probably the most amount of deals I would do were in New Jersey. Yeah. And then, like 2023 like hit, and I was just like, man, there's no deals. Like I can't even go to the auction. Like I'll be going to auction, and there's 50 people. They're expanding the rooms that they have the sheriff sales in.
You love the sheriff sales. He really does. I call him all the time. Yeah, hold on, man. I call you back up with the sheriff sale.
Yeah, I love the sheriffs. I mean, it's just my background. It's where I really have been doing it for a long time. Like 11 years, and it's a good consistent flow. Okay. And like you can
get a lot.
Yeah, it's consistent. Like it's, you have to, Philadelphia with sheriff sale. That's a whole different place. Like
you can't get title insurance with a sheriff sale.
You can. It just takes 10 months to get a deed. So like 9-10 months to get a deed. So you can get title insurance when you buy it, but you can't refinance it out for 9 or 10 months. And and the sheriff is just, they're dealing with them. If you ever have any issue, if you need the sale gets set aside and you need to get a deposit back, good luck. Like
you're not going to back.
2 years. I had a buyer that bought one, and the sale, it was at tax sale. Yeah. And he bought 2 properties, and it happened to be when we were doing the bidder registration, my admin spelled his name wrong on the account. Yeah. So when they sent the checks, $158,000 check, and it had the bank, it was spelled wrong, the bank wouldn't deposit it. We're 4 months in, and we don't have a new check. 4 months to get a name fixed on the check. No one
crazy.
Yeah. So the Philadelphia sheriff's out, when dealing with these other, Delco and Chester and Jersey and Delaware. It's a consistent flow. You go every month. That there's going to be some opportunity. Certain counties are hotter than others, but you might not get one month, but the next month you might get 2. In New Jersey, they do it every other week. So
how many of these do you go to per week?
So right now, I haven't been doing Jersey this year. For the last 8 months, it's been kind of hit or miss. If we're not, if we have some extra time, I'll send someone out to Jersey. But consistently we're doing Delco, Chester, and Philadelphia, and we do Kent and Sussex and Delaware, and then in Maryland, we've had to scale back because it's just a lot of time. How Maryland does their sheriff's foreclosures, it's like one at a time. Like they might have 1 or 2 properties, and it's like 4 days a week, and you have to show up on the steps of the courthouse, and they auction it off right there. So it's like we were doing that for 2 years, pretty consistent. But it's like you need a full-time person to just go and hustle out the deals and just drive around, because they might have one auction at 10 a.m. and then the other auction's an hour and a half away at 2 p.m. Yeah. So it's really we'll get back into doing it once we really just need a full-time person that's just in Maryland doing that. And it's a lot. So,
you have to find a shark. They just go to all these auctions.
Well, yeah. Well, the good thing about Maryland is you can just do it I just call in.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's outside, so I can send anybody there because...
And they'll just tell you'll just be on the phone.
Yeah, they just it's not it's a really informal, process like this. It's just
I mean, it must be if it's just right outside.
Yeah, and all the auctioneers know who I am. They know it's H&B, so...
Okay, no, Jacksontown.
Yeah, they're exactly. They're not the auctioneers know they're not... It's not I don't know if you've ever been to an auction, sure.
No, I've never been.
Some of them are really fast paced, and you you have to watch out for different announcements and things like that.
Bro, you know what we could do? Let me come to an auction.
Oh, bet.
And I'll pay someone to film us. Well, I'll just vlog the whole thing. I bet it'll be great content.
Oh yeah, I got a county. Well, some certain counties are a little bit.
Let's set this up. Oh my gosh, let's
I
set
know
it up.
some county. I know a couple of sheriffs definitely let us do that.
Oh,
Or-
let's do it. I think
Yeah.
it'll be really good.
Yeah,
Oh, man.
So, but like starting out with like sheriff sales, like and
Yeah.
background. One of my partners that I worked with, this guy Eric, from Delaware, he's a beast. I mean, he does 150 flips a year. Like he's a beast. Like way better than I can do. Like on the construction side, I'm always like, wow, how we work together for a lot of things. And when we were always buying, I was always trying to stay away. I was like, oh, let me go for the vacants, and let me go and I guess those are just easier. They're easier.
They're so easy.
But that's everyone's doing that.
That's what I'm saying. It's so hard to be competitive.
Yeah.
Because, like, the only way to be competitive is just like not to make much money.
Yeah. Well, also like when my mindset was, my mindset was always sell first, buy second, and like I was always it was like my mindset 5 years ago was I want to sell 75% of the deals I get or partner with someone, and then I want to keep some for myself. Finding buyers for squat or occupied is so much harder.
Yeah.
So I get a deal, and then and no one's gonna. It has to be so good for me to buy it with someone in there to go and just and tack on $5,000 or $10,000, and no one wants. So difficult. But when we switched over to now, we're buy for ourselves. Then we can go in there and work with the people and either get cash for keys or. I have several of them that I'm turning over into tenants. Instead of paying them $6,000 to leave.
Get out of there.
Like a lot of times they're just like they'll be in a nice area and they just can't afford that mortgage. But I can turn them over, say, hey, look, I'll give you a year at $1,500. I know you like you want to stay here. I'd rather do that than if they can actually. Obviously, you still have to qualify them, but if they can actually afford a lower rent. I can turn it over to that instead of waiting 6 months to get rid of them, fix the things that are needed so I can get so I can get the draws out of the bank, we'll literally fix it up right around them, do the roof, update it while they're still in there.
If you're giving them a discount though, like where else are they going to go? They're going to work with you.
Yeah, exactly. And then
pretty fair.
Yeah. It's a win-win. And then so instead of sitting on it for 8 months before I could even get in there, I'll fix it up around them. And
a lot of the way you do it. I would imagine it works out a decent amount.
It works out, yeah. I mean, I probably just started really doing that like last year of being like, okay, like how do we let's try to work with them more. It coincided with like I never bought rental properties when I was like 18. I bought a bunch, didn't know how to manage them, had a bad property manager. Like, oh, the check's in the mail and. It didn't come, and then I'm gonna wire it, and
you never got nothing.
3 months it took, but I was
at 18.
At 18, I had like 20 rentals, and and like
really,
like if it takes 3 months to get paid, like who's paying the mortgage? Like
nice.
Yeah, exactly. Like so, I was like, I don't want to ever deal with this again.
Yeah,
and so
oh my gosh, that's stress.
Oh yeah, I was just like, I don't want.
18, you were starting getting rentals.
Yeah,
bro. Yo, can we rewind? When did you start getting into? How did you even get into real estate?
So my parents are realtors, so I had access to everything. They're bright and everything. And
were they really good realtors?
Yeah, they do a good bit. Just like traditional real estate.
Yeah,
and they were like, oh, you need to get a summer job. I don't know, like it was like 8th grade and a 9th, and I'm just like, well, I'm just gonna help them with things. And so they had me doing BPO input.
What's that?
So BPO is like broker price opinion is, if you're not getting a full appraisal, they'll have an agent just do a drive-by and, tell you
an estimate. What do they think?
Yeah, an estimate. What do you think? So, they would go out, they would run the comps, and I would just input everything into the system. But I got so good at doing it that I could pretty much just do it all, and they would just oversee it. Make the comps and just do it.
So you've been running numbers since.
Yeah, I did thousands of them. Yeah, thousands. And then we were doing the BPOs. These were all for upcoming bank owns. So I would know the property before it even before it even hit the list. And then I got on my first deal I did. I was 15. I got on a deal off Hubzu.
What the hell is that?
Online auction, online auction. I remember I locked it out, and I knew it was a really good deal. I was like, it was in Middletown, Delaware, and
how old were you?
15.
15.
Yeah, and I remember, I needed like pink carpet. I got the deal for $228, and it was worth like $370. And it was only 10 years old. I was like, nah, I got to buy this. And I called up this guy, Brian, that's like a local legend in Delaware, in Newcastle County auction. And my parents happen to, know him. And I called him.
What's your parents? Who do I send? Like,
no, I did it without them. I already know. I knew of him from going. Like, my parents would take me to like when they went to a sheriff's sale. Like, I would went when I was like 9 years old.
Bro, that is so cool.
I happened to already knew him. Like, they hadn't gone in years, but I'd already had his number.
Yeah,
and so I called him up, and I made $4K. And I thought,
signed for $4K?
Yeah. I thought I was rich. He made $15. Signed it to someone else. But I thought I was. I thought I was top of the world, making $4 grand. And
at 15, I would have.
Yeah, exactly. Like, they had to write it out to my parents and sign it over to me, and I was just like, yep. And
they had to write it out to your parents.
Yeah, I was only 15. Like, I didn't have a bank account, an ID. It's like, and
when did you start deciding, like, I'm going to start making offers on these houses? Was it just random happenstance that you were just like stumbling around?
I dropped out of high school day I turned 16. Once I did that, and I was just like, that was it.
You closed the deal and just dropped out?
Pretty much, yeah. Like, yep. I was.
It's low-key really smart.
I was just like,
am I allowed to say that? Am I allowed to say that?
No, it's 100% the best decision. I've ever made. Not that I've always made the best decisions. I'm like, that's the best decision I ever made, because I still did all things that I fucked up, did this, and I haven't gotten my business, I feel like I've been in the business for 10, 11 years before I really started getting things like really organized to the level that I have now. Well, if I just went in and just continued to go to school and then went to college, like, I'd have been 23 before I started doing it. And then I take 10, 11 years to build it. I'd be 7 years behind where I am right now. And, I went to a charter school, and it was like, you have to test in, you have to be really smart. And I'm like, I'm not the smartest person here. Like, it's these kids are just like geniuses compared to me. I'm like, why?
Well, did you test in?
Yeah, I tested in, but I was just like, when I got there and I was making money in real estate, and I'm like, dude, I'm not going to be the smartest, like, the person, doing this. Like, I want to become a lawyer or like a doc. Like, come on, like, these people are.
I just want to get on the street and buy houses anyway.
Yeah, I was just like, this is fun, and that's I think it's real estate to me is fun. Like, this isn't work, like, at all. This is not work. We get to just bullshit around and
shopping with the boys.
Yeah, exactly.
Dad with your friends.
Yeah, that's exactly. Like, there's always so that's when I started, and so I've been doing it since then. And
15, bro.
I have great stories to say. But like, I did this, and it was a good experience. Like, I didn't even have my driver's license. I paid some, just like, I guess, like you're doing. I paid someone to drive me around, look at the houses. I had a realtor that
At what age?
At like 16.
At 16, you had a driver?
Pretty much, yeah. For realtor that, I throw them all the deals. And so I wasn't doing a ton. Mostly I wasn't really doing it. I never looked at it as like a wholesales. I was more looking at it as like us flipping JV, so I was flipping pretty much at 16, with JV partners and doing a lot of that.
And you couldn't be in the title anyway.
Yeah, I could. But they could. They could do it.
That's the beauty of being able to find and source deals. So your options are just sky high.
If you have the deal, anything that's
you can do whatever you want. You're the one with the power.
It's a triangle. It's a triangle. Like I used to go Del Rio meetings. Like when I was like 16 and started and teaching. They teach you the triangle of construction with dealing with a contractor. You have time. You have the quality and the money. You only can get 2 of the 3.
Yeah,
it's the same thing with real estate. Like there's a triangle. It's like, okay, you either have to find the deals, you have to be able to get the deals done, or you have to have the money. If you don't have any of those three, then you're not going to make. It's like
good luck.
Good luck. You have to have some sort of in. But if you're really good, if you're capable of getting, if you're a contractor, and you're capable of getting the jobs done, people will throw you money and people will throw you deals.
Yeah.
If you have the deals, you can find the contractors. You can find the money. If you have the money, that people, you know, if you have $1 million in the bank, you know, it's easy. Like, you can just go out and do it. But if you got to have one of those three,
you have to have one of the three.
Yeah. So I'm not gonna be the richest coming from money. There's people out there that have way, bigger bankroll. Obviously, I'm not going out there doing the work, myself. But
obviously, I'm not doing much. I ain't doing it either.
Yeah, but if you can find if you find the deals, then that's. You make the money when you buy it.
Yeah.
And you lose the money every day after every day after that. Yeah.
Very true.
Yeah. Definitely lose the money every day after that. But
man, so let me ask, so you drop out of high school, do the people in your high school think you're like, crazy Jack?
God, yeah. Yeah, I didn't associate with anybody. I ever thought I was nuts. Like, they thought I was a crazy. Like I thought I was like an idiot, and that's
they had no idea.
Yeah, no idea.
They were the idiots.
Well, yeah. I mean, that just was not for me at all. I couldn't imagine having someone going to work and telling me what to do every day. Like that just that wouldn't go over well.
That wouldn't go over well for me either.
Yeah.
Wrong with it.
Yeah, I'm just like, no, everyone thought I was like nuts, but it was definitely the best thing to get into this, and I love it every day.
There's nothing like it.
Yeah.
Action. I wake up and I just, I have a bunch of action going on.
Yeah.
It's fun. And like I'm just on the phone with my boys like all day trying to maneuver stuff.
So I feel like in the last, my business model was always just turn and burn.
Yeah.
I my drive would be, how do I obviously do the most deals and make the most money?
Yes.
And that works for a while, but
you burn out.
But this is you burn out. Like the game isn't how to make the most money. The game is how to keep the most money. So I would spend money left and right. The faster it comes in, the faster it goes out, and that is, the same mindset and the same, in your mind that leads to, with the wholesaling. It's really when you're just wholesaling everything, the mindset's always, everyone always like, oh yeah, I'll just do another deal. Anytime you make a bad, we'll buy a Ferrari, and I'll be like, now I just need to close one more deal.
I think of things in terms of deals. This is like when I think about the money, let's have a deal.
You have
That's
kids.
a deal. Yeah.
Those are two different, I don't have, no one relies on me, and it would, and so, when it's a fast money, it'd just be like, I can just spend it. And then you're like, wow, like it's all gone. Like, I got it. Yeah. So, we've switched over, and starting like year and a half, I think, I'm at like low 80s in rental units.
In how long?
Like a year and a half, like just call it 2 years, basically.
80 rentals in 2 years.
Yeah, that 80 that are like a little over 80 that are, I don't count them as rentals until they're fully refinanced out. But I have like another 45 units that are currently under, either under refinance or, deals like the sheriff deals where, because if we're going to rent back to them at $800 a month and the market rents $2,000, I'm going to wait to refinance it until they're out. I can get, raise them up, find them a place. So I have a lot of deals like that. So, but yeah, it's definitely a lot more stress doing things this way. It's way easier to just do it the wrong way and just be like, oh, I'm making money, forget about it. 2 years ago, I lived a lot less stressful life because it was just like, well, I didn't do something, who cares? I just forget about it. And, and over the last year and a half, 2 years, I've been really, since we switched over doing rentals, we're really trying to build out our construction, build out our property management, build out everything. And it's
so tough.
Yeah, it's a lot more.
And there's so much stuff.
Yeah, it's a lot more stressful to do things the correct way. To be like, look, no, we're not going to allow this to continue to happen. The paperwork has to be 100% in line. Really vetting, like when we first started getting into it, we just like, I just had one of my guys would just be like, oh, he was not betting them hard enough.
Yeah.
And then we got into a couple situations where, I think out of the first like 12 that we rented, we had like 5 people not pay. Yeah. And I was like, wow, so.
Yeah, this thing's getting halted.
Well, yeah, but at that time I already had 30, so it was like I had to go back through and be like, look, we have to set up like standard operating procedure of like, okay, this is how we're going to, this is how we're going to vet the tenants. Like we need to go through and be like, okay, no, like this is coming up with things like that. And no one's going to do it for you. Like I don't care how good. How good your team is, unless I'm Santini, like I'm sure Santini could just,
saying and
I'm sure Santini.
But that's because Jesse will be down there back
exactly
because he's got Jesse. Yeah.
Exactly, yeah. And I have Simran, who's amazing.
Oh my God, thank you so much for as someone who does business with you. Thank you for hiring her. Oh my gosh, it's made things on my side so much better.
Yeah, and like she's really good, but she's also so busy that like she's not going to be someone like a Jesse that's going to be that's going to be like, I get on her about like, we have 7 employee, people that work with us, I don't know. You're
doing these numbers with 7 people,
with 7 full-time people. That doesn't consider, construction and
of course.
Yeah. But agents and project managers, we have 7, 7 that we do, but I always get on her. I'll be like, oh, you got to manage, the VAs, you got to manage this. And that's just not always, not everyone's cut out to be like, this is going to be like, that's what they want to do.
Yeah.
And you can't just force them to be like, look, it's a skill to manage people.
My goodness. It's so tough, bro.
Yeah. It's a whole skill. So it's like at that, so, it's like, so I'll still get on her every day and be like, you got to do this but she get better at it. But it also, that goes into like one thing I've learned and got myself into trouble with dealing is I used to think like I want to do business with everyone, and I'm like, nope, not everyone's cut out to deal with business the way that I want to do business. Like I've got into people like that got into it, and it's like, no, this is how I do it, and I've got into so much issues by trying to appease people. Bro. About how they want to do business, and then it ends up coming back,
and you're the bad guy. And
I'm the bad guy when it's like, no, I didn't want to do the deal like this to begin with.
I said I didn't.
Yeah,
I was just trying to be nice with you.
Yep, and shit. Like we had one deal with a bank, like I was dealing with a couple months ago, and they wouldn't give an extension without a refinance. The house wasn't done yet, but they were like, oh, we want to see a copy, like a proposal for the refinance.
Yeah.
And I'm like, 2 years ago, and even the broker was like, no, just give it to them. I'm like, no, I'm not going to, like, they're not.
What are you saying?
That's fucking ridiculous. Why the house isn't done? Why am I going to give you a copy, a refinance proposal?
You're going to make me jump through all these hoops and kill. Don't you want me to finish?
Well, yeah, but then also if you do that, and then what happens when the house doesn't get done, or in time, or you end up not even refinancing it, and then when you go and let's just say you needed another 3 months, and you go back to them and they say, and you gave them that just to appease them, right?
Now they're gonna
now they're on you like, oh, what happened to 3 months ago? You said you were going to refinance it. Now you're listing it. It's the correct move is just to say no, know what you're doing. Know what you're willing to do, and just do it. There's certain title companies that we don't get along, and I don't want to I'll be like instead of this is how we want to do the deals. We do everything through deed packages, right? Because I'm not going to closing. Like none of my buyers are going to closing.
Yes,
there's certain title companies that are like, no, you have to meet with our notary, and
let me make this work.
Yeah, you know what? Let me let me have the buyer, or let me have Megan come in and meet them at some coffee shop at 2 p.m. and take an hour out of our day just to make sure to do it. So we'll still fight them on it, but the next time it comes around, if it's that title company, I'll just be like, no, I'm not going to do it. Like I'm not going to take the deal instead of trying to take the deal again, and then you run into the same issue, and then you end up jeopardizing the the relationship with that, with that wholesaler,
because it went shopping.
The first one or two are the hardest, especially with how I am and how I do business. And, like once people get to know who I am and connect, and we won't have issues. Like
I so agree.
Yeah.
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
And so,
because sometimes it can be chaotic.
Yeah.
But like, bro, that's what happens when you buy that many houses, you're going through some growing pains. And I swear every deal I do with you guys, it's tighter and tighter and tighter for the most part.
Yeah. So that's what we try to do. And we've learned a lot over the way of, getting, and doing things, but I'm not cut out to deal with everybody. There's a lot of people that are just like, they want to be, want to be the most like on top of the deal. And
it's not going to work.
And I'm just like, it doesn't work. And, I've even had people that have like loaned me money and done deals with that, and then they're calling you out like, 2 weeks into the deal, what's going on with this and that.
Bro, I would have got the money from somebody else. Don't call me.
Well, yeah. So I would take out money for anybody who wants to do business or wants to buy a deal from me. Like that's going on, coming up in the business. I'd be like, oh, it's money. Why would I turn it down? Like, no, not, it's, you have to be, as you grow into the business, you have to be more selective of, it doesn't mean some people can do business with everyone, but know what your strengths and weaknesses are and identify with dealing with, with someone with, whoever you're dealing with, if it's a wholesaler, contractor, and if you identify that it's not a good fit, just don't do it.
Just don't do it.
Yeah.
I so agree. Yeah. 100%. Like, and I think it's all about expectations, and I think you're really good. Your expectations are pretty dang, it's pretty clear. You operate the same way every single deal. You're you're very consistent, and that's what it's like doing business.
Yeah.
Same thing with me.
Yeah.
I think we're all like, if you've been doing business for a while, you're eventually just going to do it a certain way, and with some people will be conflicts, some people not.
You can do it a certain way. It doesn't mean that I'm not without fault and haven't done things that and I haven't had my things organized the way I needed to.
But we're running around on the street. Things are going to get fucked up sometimes.
Yeah. Well, exactly. But even when I was staying with you, you really just want to be hands off, and and I've said to you, you got to have a Simran that really, a good transaction.
I have one right now.
Yeah.
Andrew Bachman does all my stuff right now.
Yep.
Andrew is amazing, and my past couple transactions. But as soon as I sign with the seller now, I am never talking to the seller again. They could call me if they really want to, but Andrew's so much better at the customer service than me, and Andrew's so much better remembering to ask to hit up the tenant and do all that stuff. Me, you better fucking remind me. I'm not going to remember because I've got other things to do.
Yeah, that's definitely the most efficient way to make money. Yeah,
exactly. Let me focus on bringing the stuff, and then let Andrew service them. They'll be happier, and I'll make so much more money, and I can just focus on what I'm good at.
Yeah.
You hiring Simran was a big inspo for me.
Yeah.
Because I said, wow, Jack's running around way different and more efficient now. Fuck, I really need to get.
I've gotten her 2 VAs and another admin for her to manage, and
he deals with Adnan now. Now I don't deal with Adnan. Andrew does.
Yes.
And he does a better job than I do.
Yeah, way better. And it's it's looking at it when I want to hire people, it doesn't always make sense in the moment. It doesn't make you the most money.
No,
right then and there, you make less. But what you have to realize is, okay, I'm going to make less for 9 months, and then the growth is going to be, exponential because once I get to the point where he pays for himself and how much time that it frees you up. That's the only way you're going to be able to truly expand and get to the point of doing it. So we want to get. One of my goals would be, with me fully going into in rentals is getting my, property management in-house.
Oh God, but I feel like people at the amount of units you have, they all bring it in-house.
Yeah. I have a really good manager in Philly, but he's not he manages for me. He manages for Mike Din.
Oh God.
And that's how I know him. And pretty much just for Mike Din, me, and his own rentals.
Yeah.
He has 100 rentals in Philly, and he does it. And so he only brought me on so he can bring on someone, another person to his team.
Yeah.
And he's really good. But even at that, if I'm throwing him, he's the best manager I've ever dealt with. And I've dealt with, you're dealing with companies, and he's amazing. But even one month I threw him 12 units, like 12, like not like buildings, like 12 individual units, and said, rent them
right now.
Yeah, even that, the best manager, like,
that's a lot to drop on.
Yeah, and you call them up, and if you still have to manage them like your own employee, because
you
if
can't
you just
forget it.
Yeah, you just set it. Yeah, I think you just set it and get it, and then it'd be like it's 7 weeks later, and only like 3 of them are rented. I'll be like, what's going on with this? Oh, I told so and so that this repair needed to be done, and my team forgot to list this. And that's even with a good property manager.
Yes.
You're still going to have to be. You still have to manage them like you're like your own. So obviously, I'm going to have him, but the ultimate goal would be to, then to expand. But how many people, how many units can one person manage, right? Maybe 20, 30, maybe once they get good, 40. But how many units can 5 people manage? It's not 1-to-1. A 5-person team can manage 800 units, 700 units, like they realistically can. So with dealing with units and volume, the way I see it of property management, that it's not one person can only do so much. They might only be able to manage 20 units or 30 units. It depends on your skill level. I'm talking not just like if me and you. I'm talking somebody works for us, right?
Exactly.
They can only do so much. But if I have, for each person I add on their team, instead of one person can manage 30, I've seen it from other investors that I've seen, talking to people, and even my own experience with what the one person, each person you add, that person can do that way more.
Oh wow!
Like if they one person can do 30, 2 people can do 100, 3 people can do 200. Like it's because
it's not
you're reducing redundancy. If one person has to do everything, then they're having to do a little bit of everything. It takes a lot more time. But if you have a 7-person team,
they can all have just one task.
Yes.
A bunch of properties, they got to do it a bunch, but they're only doing one task.
Yes, and
okay.
So like the goal would be to if we really want to build and get I want to get thousands of rental units, if you're going to do that, then. But also, I wouldn't want to rely on only me, because what happens if the ultimate goal of investment real estate? I don't run a business. We're not running a business here. None of us.
Bro, no one has enterprise value. Other than Santini. Santini, Phil Vaughn, George Beatty.
Yeah.
Other than that, no, I don't think anybody.
No, there's really, for house flipping, even the Tim T's of the world,
Tim T's had no enterprise value.
Yeah, no,
he's the main. He's the business.
You remove Tim T from, and do that. There's nothing. It's not so the ultimate goal of why we want to get into rentals is, it's like we're starting with talking about it. I don't care how much I make anymore. It's not about how much I make. It's about what's my net worth, how much am I paying the IRS. And, that's the value of it, of going at. So the ultimate goal is I don't want to have to work. I don't want to have to wake up every day. And, I'd like to, if I want to disappear I don't want to have disappeared for, over years for 2 weeks and I got myself into issues of with how much we're doing. If I disappear for 2 weeks and just say, I can't, it's physically impossible.
Yeah.
Everything will around.
Yeah.
So, as I want to grow, obviously I wouldn't want to just only have my own property management, because, even how good it is, you're still going to somebody has to be there to manage.
Yeah.
But that would be the ultimate goal, is to grow it out into a business where you can, anybody that can retire with 100 units that are paid off, just
hang out.
Yeah. It's just that. That's true. That's true. That's true value for the long term, I feel like. So, and I didn't understand it for years, because I just did it. It was just
give me the money right now.
Yeah, I just wanted to make money. And it was just I've seen on every one of your podcasts, I'm I just want to make money. And it's just that's about making money. But, if you stop, who's going to, you get sick, who's going to pay, what, just your savings. I don't care. You could have $1 million. If you have $1 million, your lifestyle goes up. There's just, unless no one wants to be Dave Ramsey. We're not in real estate to be,
I know who he is.
Yeah, no one wants to be that. That's not why we're in real estate. So, depending on how much money you have, what happens if it's I get sick, something happens, if you're always just relying on just active income, you come in, you only have so long of a runway. versus, building out a rental portfolio. Something can happen. You still have, even if you had to turn it over to another property manager, if you had the rentals for 10 years, like that will pay your bills and do everything, I feel like. So
now you're just trying to stack up these units.
Yeah.
In a couple of years, see Jack just hanging. You won't see Jack.
No, I don't. There's a difference between doing it and having the option to do it. I highly doubt I will ever allow.
Yes.
I highly doubt that I'll ever Yeah, I need the action, but it's good to have the ability.
Yeah.
And to not. So I'm trying to manage my stress because I feel like I'm more stressed than ever. Like,
bro, you find somebody, how would you not be super
Well,
stressed?
I've always done, my average year has always been around 200, transactions. So when I say transactions, like if I buy it and sell it, that's 2 transactions.
It is 2 transactions. Yeah.
So I would always be around 200. I hit like the low, I think I hit like 300 2 years ago, and I hit like 317 this past year. But that 317, instead of 2 years ago being like, half my deals, now it's like 90%. My own deals. So it's ignorance is bliss. It was just way easier to just like when I didn't care if it took too long or something didn't get done, it was way less stressful than to do. But everyone says always get into start doing more multifamily and such, right?
I hear that. I hear that a lot when people have single families, they switch to that.
Yeah, that's why I was like, oh, why are you buying so many single families? And it's like, I want to buy more. I was just talking with Tim Stover on Friday about a deal we're buying. Like I'd say you and him are like the biggest that I buy. Like I buy a lot from Tim.
That's my man. I love him. I've been telling him come on the dang pod.
I know. I've been working with him back when he was with George. I bought a lot of deals from George just because of Tim, and we had a relationship. So that when he went out on his own, I bought a lot of properties from him over. However many years he's been on his own. I was talking to him, and he's like, just going through the market and everything that's happen with Philly, and it's just like we come to the conclusion. I'm like talking. I'm like, the best multifamilies I do, like it would have to be such a home run deal, or I still have money into them. Like at the end of the day, if you buy a triplex and you have $35,000, $40,000 into the deal, it was probably still a good deal, but you can't. If I did that 20 times, it's $1 million, like that are just out of your pocket that you can't touch. It limits. It might grow. To the average person, it's like that's buying. It's like identify how fast you want to grow, and if you only want to grow 5 units a year, or you only want to grow 10 units a year, your strategy is going to be way different than if you're. So if I tell people I want to buy 100 rental units a year, they're all going to say, why don't you do multifamily for all of them? Yeah. Way easier to manage. But if I have to have $30,000 into each deal, my one set of funds, there's cool, I could bring in other people to invest, But
now you have, how much of it is really your, all this for
I have some deals with partners, but it's just with rentals, with that, if somebody that's truly just bringing you the money in, they're probably not going to help you manage it.
It's tough to do.
Yeah. So if I bring in a partner with a deal, I want them,
it has to be a certain type of person.
Yeah, I want to be able to
certain type of relationship.
I want to be able to have them assist with the deal and do things like that. It's if they can assist you and they can bring you the money, then why are they going to take 50%? Like it doesn't. That just doesn't jive. So. Everyone always says buy more. Obviously, I'll buy multifamily, but it's a lot harder to
meet the numbers work.
Yeah, not that they work. They work. It's just you're going to have the best deals. They're still going to have money locked in them that you can access. And it's not about what the bank. It's not about what it's actually worth. When you're buying a rental property that that you're going to always keep. Yeah. It's like, do I want a deal that is actually worth 300. I know I can sell it at 300, but the bank, when you're doing multifamily, they're only going to look at multifamily comps. Yeah. And they tell you it's only worth 270, and you have all this extra money into the deal.
It's, I would imagine, very tough to grow and scale and buy at a fast pace.
It depends how fast and how much money you're working with.
Yeah.
You could buy, if you're just doing multis, small multis, apartments would be cool down the road. But
Yeah.
I don't know how much you've dealt with apartments, but they all seem to be just crazy. There's so many people that want them. Like,
I do nothing about it. It's like another planet to me.
yeah, they always. I mean, it's so hard. I'm like, I couldn't.
You could be like the Philly Ben Mala, though.
Yeah, that's what I'm doing. I'm sorry, you will tell me. I watch all this shit. I'm just like, yeah, that could definitely be me one day for sure.
100%.
Just call around yelling at everyone. Like, hey, what the fuck is this? Why is this, smoke detector not on? You know, what is this? Yeah, I could definitely, definitely. But like, you can only scale so much, like, unless you have, if you can, it's a different model. Like, I know people that are doing, multifamilies, you have to line up the money also, because a good, even a good, 20 unit building, there's no way not to have a bunch of money into the deal. So you also have to line up the capital partners. Oh, they bring you $600,000 at this much %, and cool. So it's easy to scale like that, but now it's a twofold. You're not only lining up the lender, you're not only lining up the deal that's hard to find. Yeah. You also have to line up a ton of other money. Yeah. When I'm doing single families, and I love duplex RM1 duplex conversions. That's why I have so much in Southwest sweet spot, because you're buying them at single family values,
and you can convert them.
And I can convert them. And then if for whatever reason the comps aren't there as a multifamily, I could always just rip it as a single, and convert it later. Nothing says I can't. Nothing says I can't buy it as a single, renovate it as a single, refinance out, and then later on add another unit. Like, there's nothing that says I can't do that. And I've gone into deals with intentions of doing that. I know I can get it as a single. I set it up this way, so that way all I got to do is add a wall here, and add a kitchen after, and now it's a duplex, and you're getting it off single family values. Your cash flow is tremendous, and still be, you're still adding 2 units at a time, but you're definitely definitely no money. If you're buying anything, part of the reason why I like Southwest buying,
you're not leaving money.
I'm not leaving nothing in the deal. Like I'm getting money back.
I'm getting money when I rebuy. I'm walking away with some profit.
Yeah. So even if the right now DSCR, there's a lot of things going on in Philly, and there's banks pulling out. I see that. I definitely can see that it's going to be a little bit harder to refinance. I think the future wave is going to be lower LTVs. Mm-hmm. You're not going to get 80%. You're already not getting 80% Philly. Yeah.
It's went down. That one deal that you're buying it on 12th Street or whatever, bro. I feel like 6 months, 12 months ago, it would have been worth 30 a unit all day long. It would have been 90 all day long. Like, you would have been happy. I would have been happy. It would have been great.
Yeah. Yeah. No. Exactly. Like, it's definitely not anymore. And so, but even with transition, it's like, okay, if part of the advantage to Philly is there's just always so many comps. It's such a big area.
Oh yeah.
So it's like I'm dealing with it in Wilmington, where I have a good bit of units, and Wilmington rents really well, but the market was so hot this time last year. Yeah. They were all selling for over 200, like in the hood, and like across the city. Then in a lot of different those areas, all the comps fell off. There was a bunch of them, end of 2024, beginning of 2025, getting 240 in the hood, where things where we bought them for 160, and then the values went up. Yeah. And the appraisal is just a opinion of the value. They're going to go based off that 240. Yeah. But so then the market, then 3 comps fall off, and now it's worth 190.
Smoked.
Yeah, but luckily they're low end, so at 240. But if you're buying them based on 240, and which people, a lot of wholesalers were able to really rip Wilmington heavy and get a lot of people to buy stupid numbers because these are the comps. Yeah. But then the numbers go down. Then they're stuck with a bunch of money into the deal, and you're still in a C or D area. With difficult tenants, and but part of the reason point was saying is, like, with Philadelphia, there's such you're going out a quarter mile, like in most of the areas that I'm trying to buy in, there's there's always comps. Like,
Yeah.
even if the market goes down,
sometimes you got to go even closer.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I feel like most of the banks will go out a quarter miles if they, in the same zip code, and in Wilmington there might have been only 3 comps. They got 240, but in Philadelphia there's probably, and in Southwest there was 12 comps.
All the same thing.
They got 205, and so even if the market goes down a little bit, it might go down from 205 to 185.
Yeah,
you're still.
It's not going to murder you.
Yeah, you're still able to get a lot of value there.
Yeah.
And so that's why I like the single family duplex conversion, a lot more than I'm liking 3 or 4 unit. Obviously, we buy. Like, we've had one of the deals I think the only deal we ever had that didn't close was a deal we did in Oxford.
Yeah, but that was weird. That was a weird scenario.
Well, yeah, but it was just like, if you don't know, like, you didn't know what you're doing on it either.
Right, there aren't any comps.
There was
no comps.
Yeah.
No proof of rent.
No.
Janky construction. We would have closed. Honestly, it was the seller's fault that we didn't close.
Yeah.
Anybody and I tried to explain to this guy. So Jack and I had this one deal going on, and the appraisals kept coming back super low. Anybody else in the world would have asked for a huge reduction. And we didn't even ask for a reduction. We said,
we just have to take it.
Obviously, we need more time.
Yeah, we had to take it to a different bank, and we had to redo all the numbers. We knew we were going to have to bring I was going to have to bring $65,000 to the table, and it was just like, okay, whatever. And the seller wouldn't. The seller.
He should have been saying thank you.
I know.
He really should have been saying, if you ever sold a house before, and you have half a brain, you would have said, oh my God, the appraisals are coming back that much lower. You're still going to buy it at this price. Thank you so much. Take 30 more days. And he didn't. He wanted to raise the price.
Yeah. And so, but even from learning from that, I feel like you can't learn this. I mean, maybe I got to get better and go into when I was at Jim Jassel's event, I could just go to an event and just learn off of that. I'm like, I get some good ideas, but it's just like, that's not how I can learn. I gotta.
You have to hit it.
Yeah. The best learnings are mistakes. Yeah. Those are you don't learn from making money. You learn from losing money.
I wish that wasn't true, but
that is 100% the truth. I mean, and we didn't lose any money on that deal, but we lost the opportunity
to make money.
So but buying multifamilies in Chester County, I knew the value was there. Mm-hmm. It was a 4-unit, but there was no comps, and they were single family selling for $550, and ours is double the size, and the bank was giving us a $480 evaluation, and they're like no, physically we can't, there's just no comps. And I had one deal in Maryland this last year buying multifamily too that it's a duplex in Pocomoke City, Maryland. I don't even know where that is.
I have no idea.
It's far. It's far. You keep going past Delaware, south, and just keep going to Maryland, all the way. It's the middle of nowhere, but we got this duplex down there, and one of my good lenders, not gonna name, we do work with, and we got to the closing table. It appraised at a good value, but they went out 16 miles. Because that was the nearest duplex comp, was 16 miles away.
Oh my God!
And they backed out the day before closing. And because they could. They're like, our final underwriting said that these comps are too far away. There's just we can't do it. And that's, there was nothing they could do. Nothing we could do, and we had to scramble. Luckily, it was $58,000. So
you figured it out.
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah, we were able to scramble and just wow, but when you're doing this kind of volume and a lender doesn't come through with you, you're pissing off the seller, you're pissing off the wholesaler. Luckily I have a lender now that can close in 2 days.
Okay.
They're expensive, but I know I can always call them if something goes wrong.
Yes, and you need to close.
I can hit them up. That's a huge difference in the business.
Yeah.
Having someone that's on speed dial. I still throw them regular, on my regular deals too, even though they're more expensive. But I know anytime I have an emergency, something like that,
then it'll work out.
Yeah, that's a major. You need to have it even for you as a wholesaler. What if you have a buyer that flakes on you tomorrow? Are you gonna walk away from a $40,000 deal? If you like, you like the seller's going to walk, you have to be set up to buy it. Like you have to be.
Yes.
You 100% have to be if you're going to wholesale houses. Like, because, I tell a story of like, I'll call a story I want to tell. Like,
yeah, I want to hear a couple stories too.
Yeah, but like one thing I always look back, I'm on like my Snapchat memories. I'm being like, I went down to Ocean City, New Jersey when I was first getting into New Jersey. This was like 2017.
Yeah.
And it was an online auction, this property, and it was squatter occupied in Ocean City, New Jersey. And it was a 7-bedroom duplex on Central Avenue. And I knew it was just like, I knew it was a home run.
Yeah.
And I hadn't won the bid. I had no idea what to do with it. And I just knew.
Well, you knew it was something.
But no, because I wasn't set up just by, squatter occupied at the
Yeah.
time. I didn't know the market that well. Like I was only done like, only been into New Jersey market for like 2 months, and
Yeah.
Ocean City's in a whole different MLS. And I just happened to come across it, and I was like, I have to buy this.
Which is super annoying. It's a different MLS. It's so stupid.
Yeah. So I was looking at it, and I happened to, I wasn't set up like, this was like 2017. There wasn't Renovos of the world buying up. Like you were dealing with like traditional hard money lenders, and I was only dealing with like guys from Delaware.
Yeah.
And I knew the value was there, but I couldn't convince, in a 24-hour year, I also wasn't going to also like lock it up and put out a deposit, knowing that if I couldn't actually close, I was just like, so I ended up having to just let it go. And I had that deal for $300. I think it was like $380,000.
Yeah.
And it recently sold 2 years ago over $2 million.
Oh my goodness. That
One of the
must sting.
worst. Well, yeah, but like it doesn't matter. So you could be the
You weren't
best.
set up.
Yeah, you could be the best wholesaler in the world and know that you could literally be a blind squirrel that finds the nut. And if you don't have the ability to buy it or the ability to say, I know what this is worth and I'm going to take advantage of it, how are you going to make any money? Like,
Nah, you're right.
That deal if I bought it for $380, I found out actually it was a rooming house, so that it was fully occupied. They had like 7 people living there. So
Chaos.
Yeah. But I definitely could have gotten all of them out, right?
Yeah.
Even back then, it was worth $1 million. I could have refinanced out at $1 million. I would have taken money out, and then it doubled in value.
Yeah.
I'd be a millionaire just off of that deal, and just off of that deal, my net worth would be $1 million
Just from that.
Just from that deal. And that people talk like, oh, back in the day, like we're not talking 2011, like the bottom, like 2017, the market was already coming up. There was already more money coming into the industry, like, and I let that go, and that's a huge mistake. Like every time it comes up, once a year, every time it comes up once a year, I'm just like, wow, this is incredible. Like I can't believe I allowed that to happen. And looking back, but in the time I didn't know.
You weren't set up the right way.
I wasn't set up the right way, but that could happen to you today. If you could have some home run deal, right then in the moment. I think it's a lot different for people buying squatter or occupy, doing things like that right now. But like, what if you had that deal right now and it's worth $1 million, and you got it for $380? It's 2 hours away from you. It's out of your market. Let's just say you had one in the Poconos, that's worth $1 million. Probably not, but like saying for you that's not your area.
Well, I started buying with so Max Lomas, and I do JVs with him a lot. So we just flipped something in close next week in Virginia. Like, get rid of it.
How'd you make out?
Oh, the same thing. You know what? Everyone loves talking about flipping houses, but I don't care what anyone says. You never make what you thought you were going to make. We thought we were chopping a 40. We're chopping like 29.
I mean, it's still something.
Yeah.
But no, it's
not like
you would have been better off just selling that off.
But with the scenario, it would have been better. Yeah, it would have been better to even just make it a 10-piece real quick, getting money now instead of waiting 3-4 months, obviously. But
the scenario just didn't work. Yeah.
You know what? And again, we're not going to turn down the money. So,
yeah.
Like, you know what I'm saying? So
profit is profit.
Whatever.
Keep it going.
And as long as it's enough to be safe, and it was a really safe, like
that's all the house. It
was so easy and so safe to like if it didn't sell for what we thought, like bro, whatever, it's gonna be quick enough. But it's all with JVs with people. I just don't have the bandwidth to be dealing with all this stuff. I'm not set up that way, but
you still are set up. If you're not gonna,
I'm not gonna.
There's no way you're never gonna there's no way if it's a Thursday, and you have a seller and it's a hot deal and your buyer flaked out on you.
I will close the next day.
You will know plenty of people, or have your own connections like that. You won't be able to do that, but. If you're somebody that's only done 7 deals, you could have came across the best deal ever. 100. You could have came across 100K assignment. If you don't know what you're doing, I've run into deals where that I've seen that wholesalers, they go out, they're happy to make 15K and they just end up just letting it go.
They could have made 50.
Yeah, they could have made 50. They had no idea. They literally.
They ain't happening to Mr. Nick.
Yeah, so you don't want, but you also don't want it to be the other way where there's certain wholesalers that if they send me a couple really bad deals, it's just like
you're not even looking at their stuff anymore.
I'm not looking at their stuff, and then if they hit me up saying, "Oh, I need you to buy this," if they were dicks and trying to tell me values that argue with me over the value, I'll be like, "Nah, I'm taking $5,000 off just for the inconvenience because I know it's not going to be like a Nick deal where they're just going to leave me alone. Like I know I'm going to have to, I know I'm going to have to suck their dick and be like,
but I just leave it the fuck alone.
Yeah, and so
you never know. You always close.
The only deal we ever had that didn't close was that Oxford deal, and that was out of their control.
The seller's fault. And
that was out of our control. Yeah. It was probably our fault. We weren't ready on time. That's going to happen, but not everything's perfect in a vacuum. Being in 4 states and different areas, dealing with so many different moving parts, you're going to have things that happen, and that's an effect.
No, not at all. I didn't follow y'all for that at all.
Yeah, it wasn't. It really wasn't. But at the same time, we could have been. But if it was a crazy deal, if I wish right now, I would have just, if I had that lender that I knew that I could have literally closed. And that was even a year ago to having the lending lined up that never again. Yeah. You could call me tomorrow and say, I get you. It would never happen like that. So
yes.
If you have anything in Ocean City, New Jersey for $380,000, I'll buy it. For $2 million. But
send the Jack.
Yeah. One deal I was just I just bought was some of the craziest, we've dealt with some crazy deals from the auction.
Yeah, let me hear some stuff.
I've dealt with a lot. This all just happened within 2 weeks ago. So we've had dead bodies.
What?
Yeah,
what?
I think over the years, 7 over the last.
Are you serious?
Yeah. Over the last
in houses.
Yeah. This last one we bought it squatter occupied in Chester, and we bought it. And we knew it was a bagger that was living in there, and we got 3 of them for $80,000 or something, $100,000. Yeah, a 3-pack, and we were over there. We knew the guy was a bagger. We figured it'd be easy to get him out. So 2 weeks after we bought it, sent my contractors in. I'm like, look at the other 2. Try to talk to the guy that's in the 3rd, and they're not answering. This place is up to here in garbage, so they're just walking through the place and. Boom! The guy's just laying on a pile of garbage, and they didn't know what they're doing. They're poking him, is he alive, dead? We had one last year that we bought in Chester County that we happened to. We've done door knocking before we're already doing the sheriff's research. Yeah. So while the guys, if they see a hot deal, I'll be like, look, just knock on their door. We happened to knock on the door of the guy. And got the sheriff, this was 3 weeks before the sheriff's sale. So we ended up getting the deal, we're ready to close, but it was 3 days before closing. We're ready to go. Nova was doing the deal, and, they're like, we can't get a hold of the guy, can't get a hold of the seller. So I sent my sister out there, and she had been dealing with him, and she's like, something's wrong. And, if that happened in Philly, the cops wouldn't have gone in and done anything. But out in Chester County, they're like, okay, we're going to break in. They break in. He's dead. We've had dead tenants. We've had 3 or 4 dead tenants. We had a squatter. We had a squatter 3 years ago in Chester County that we were working on getting him out. We were like offering him cash for keys. He had agreed the week after closing.
Yeah.
He killed himself in the driveway.
Gosh, what the hell is going on?
I mean, when you're dealing with foreclosures, it's a little bit different than even when you're dealing like a lot with foreclosures, going to be a little bit more. It's a lot more like when you're dealing with if they're dealing with you on a foreclosure, that means that they had it there enough together that they reached out to someone.
Yes.
That they're like, the people that
fix this. Like,
I've seen people.
They're positive people. Like, I'm going to fix this and get out.
Yeah, like a lot of I've seen deals that they owe $40,000 and it's worth $250,000, and they bury their heads in the sand and thinking, I'm not going to do. And then it's like, then you show up being like, and then there's a lot of that one guy. The one guy just died on this. Like he was like 60 years old and he just died in his bed. But we had the one guy that killed himself in the driveway.
That's terrible.
So we've had a lot of deal with I have lots of great stories. One I was just dealing with that we bought at sheriff's sale 2 weeks ago. We're buying a condo right on. So anything in person, normally we're not doing spending the time doing the title work on all of them.
Yeah.
Because they're going to announce it normally, like announce it. So if you buy the property at sheriff's sale, if you buy the first mortgage, it wipes away the other mortgages.
Okay.
In Pennsylvania, it wipes away the taxes. In New Jersey, you still got to pay the taxes and such. But
they love the taxes in New Jersey.
Yeah. So you still got to watch out.
Play games in Jersey.
Normally you go in person, then the banks are going to make announcements. They're going to be like, okay, this is what we know about. Obviously, you're still buying it, that there could be something they don't know about, which you're taking that risk. But online, there's no announcements. So we go through and we do title work on every single. I spend when a Philadelphia auction or Chester County, there's only like 20, so it doesn't take me long. So I go through and I do all the title work on the property myself, and I have the portal. I go on there, I research, make sure that I know what I'm buying, the best of our ability. Well, we bought this property, this condo. It's over on Broad in Washington, good area, and the amount that was owed was $925. That's what was getting foreclosed upon. And so I'm just looking at it, and I see a lady's name, and then I see the condo association, and so automatically, you're thinking, oh, I guess the condo is foreclosing on the lady, and I'm talking, the guy that's bidding for me, that's buying the property. I'm talking to him like, whoa, like, hold on, I need to call my attorney.
Yeah.
And we're already trying to get others ready, and there's only like 30 minutes left, and I'm trying to figure out what's going on. And so I'm calling my attorney. I'm just like, he couldn't make sense of it. And we're just like, we're looking through, and I'm like, dude, something's like weird about this. Yeah. The lady was foreclosing on the condo.
Huh?
Well, apparently we got a hold of, luckily my attorney knew the attorney that was foreclosing.
Yeah.
And so we were able to get on the phone with him before the sheriff's sale. And he's like, yeah, there's a litigation going on for 7 years over a security deposit that they never returned to his client. And now we've raked up like $23,000 worth of attorney fees, and they still won't pay us. So now foreclosed fully on the property over a security deposit. So $925 that we ended up buying. So now, my client and I, we're going to buy it together. We got it for like 20 something thousand. The condo's worth $250,000, but there's a blanket mortgage. So the building, there's like 250 properties in the building, and 100 of them are owned by the condo itself. Yeah. And then there's like 150 owned by, individuals. Oh, wow. So they have a blanket, the condo has a blanket mortgage for $12 million that covers all the properties. Okay. So I know I'm buying it, like we're going to buy it 20-something thousand. We're not going to be able to get title insurance because there's still a lien for $12 million, but I don't have to pay on that. And so, and unless the condo goes belly up, which you don't think they will. Well, yeah, but even if they do, I can request to take that, pay them off. Without paying off the whole 12 mil, I can say, hey, here's a partial payment, even for market value, even like $120,000. But if the condo, as long as they're paying their mortgage on, all the other ones, which they only owe, they took out $12 million. That was years ago, and the condos are worth like $250 on the market. So
they can just sell them off and be fine.
Yeah.
Right?
So
It's pretty.
So I won't ever be able to get title insurance on it, but I'll own it cash.
Yeah.
And the rent, I mean, what's a 1-bed, 1-bath, in Graduate Hospital area get for rent? Like,
probably close to $2,000. No?
Yeah, like $1,800, and the condo fee is like $350 a month.
Yeah,
so I'll bring in $1,300 a month for $20-something thousand investment, even if I have to put $20,000 into the stairs.
Good money, and you get a good quality tenant over there.
Yeah, well, apparently there's already a tenant in there. I haven't been able to make contact yet. I'm just like, well, get to it once it closes and start go into the building and figure out what the situation is. But even if you're cash flowing a positive $1,000 a month, you're making your money back in like 4 years. One thing another deal I've dealt with that I'm dealing with right now, craziest situations. We bought a property in Baltimore County like 2 years ago, I guess a year and a half ago, and it's like an $800,000 property.
Yeah.
And we knew we were buying the second mortgage. So when you're buying the second mortgage, you still owe the first mortgage.
Okay.
So they announced it so a lot of people will stay away from that. As seasoned investors, we know it's more of a risk, but you have to assume the first mortgage. So whatever the first mortgage is,
you have to
pay it.
Yeah.
So the bidding's up. You don't have like an up-to-date value. All you have is the day it was taken out, what the interest rate was, and that's it.
Good luck.
You don't know if they've been paying on it. You don't know it. I've seen it that they paid up all the way. I've seen it that they haven't paid on it. But normally, if they haven't paid for 7 years, right? Why wouldn't they foreclose?
Yeah.
It's like logically they're probably only a couple years behind, even if they did it. So, we had figured that like the mortgage was worth like $250. We're like, okay, it's probably worth $200. It's let's just budget $250.
Yeah.
So I bought the property for like $260,000, and thinking that okay, it's worth $250. It only needs $50,000 worth of work, and it's an $800,000 property. Well, in order to get the payoff from the bank, you need an authorization. Sometimes the banks are easy and they just give you the payoff, or sometimes they're real sticklers and they're like, no, you need an authorization form.
Yeah.
So you either have to track down the old owner,
good luck.
Yeah, good luck. You have to buy the property, take the title, and then they'll give it to you the next day.
Yeah.
So we were like, okay, well we're not going to do that until we at least have an idea of how much it is. I'd rather, if I have to, I'll walk away from a $10,000 deposit if I had to.
Yeah.
I'm like,
it would sting.
Yeah, because I was just like, so it took 8 months. They gave us a number.
Yeah.
$117,000. Ka-ching. Home run. We're like, okay, that means that they've been paying, that this mortgage has been paid up until like a couple years. Well, we buy it. So we put up the money, $260,000. Whatever, after the closing cost, I think it was like $260. We're all in, and we go to get the payoff, and they say no, it's $500 and something thousand. The bank, I guess, misquoted the title company. The title company hires a third-party vendor who deals with chasing down payoffs, and somebody missed either the bank told them the wrong number, or the third party fucked it up, and they quoted them the reinstatement amount, which was $117,000. That's the reinstatement. So now we own the property with a $500 and something thousand that has not been paid on for 14 years. The mortgage hasn't been paid for 14 years. And now
you're stuck with it.
We're not stuck, but we're stuck.
We're not stuck. We're stuck.
It's not a permanent stuck, because now we're gonna have to go after the title company, and we're
for letting that happen. That's crazy.
For quoting us the wrong number, and obviously the first position bank, they didn't even know that the mortgage existed anymore. It got sold like 6 times.
Yeah,
it was involved in a bankruptcy. The bank never even, the reason why they didn't foreclose is they never knew it.
They forgot.
They had no idea.
Oh.
So it's with So it's with this some asset manager, and they know there's going to be pending litigation against it if they try to foreclose. So I mean, it's been going on for 6 months, and we haven't gotten it anywhere yet. But our lawyers on it. You know, they're going to end up coming down to a halfway reasonable. We're still going to lose and had the money tied up for a while. That's lots of fun. So I have $100,000. My partner has $100,000.
Oh my gosh!
Tied into this deal that we can't. That's just sitting there. 4,000 square feet, and obviously we're not going to put in any work until we know what's going on. But that's the fun side of share sales. When I tell everyone, just like, oh yeah, they think they can just show up and just like, and they can just do things, and things like that happen, and you have to budget in that if you buy enough of these, there's going to be some issue. Now I know with something like that, you live and you learn, and you'd be like, probably have to get in writing, that like exactly what I had it in writing, but how am I supposed to know that title company didn't have it in writing? When they say, it's 107, I was like, oh man, we just made a killing. We got it for $130,000 less than we thought. Yeah. And they turned.
No, not at all.
No.
What's that?
No, but that's a good story. I'm dealing with the pain right now. That's like,
is that one of your biggest losses? Well, it's not officially a loss.
It's not a biggest, so it's not a loss yet, but it would be.
It would be. Okay.
Yeah. So I mean, but biggest loss, I had a deal that took like 6.5 years. And we were dealing with the Jersey wouldn't give us a septic in Salem County. And then I sat on it for a while because it was such a pain in the ass. And I was just like, I don't want to deal with this. And I'll just, then I'll check in every couple months. And then it took 2.5 years for them to say that, no, we can't give you a septic. You have to do a holding tank. But so my septic contractor was saying like, oh yeah, he was saying for 2 years we need to do a holding tank, and the county was trying to tell him like, no, we're not allowing it. You got to do this, you got to do that, and we almost had to go to litigation to force Salem County to just give us the opportunity to buy. So but it was not a loss because I turned it into a rental.
Okay, then you're all right.
Yeah, so it's a lot of money into that deal. Yeah, but I was like, I'm not gonna sell.
Oh, cool. My wife's going to kill me. I'm 20 minutes late to our birthday party.
Awesome.
Everybody, I hope you enjoyed it. How did they get a hold of you?
I guess just follow me on Instagram.
Or hit me up and I'll send it to him.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Jack, thank you so much,
awesome.
man. That was
Thank
amazing.
you.
All right, everybody, I hope you enjoyed it. And as always, you're welcome.